This is my homage to Michelle Visage. I love it when she wears a big old Chelsea bun up on her head. Oh, hey! Hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 11, Episode 8, or as I like to call it, the Snatch Game. Well, everyone calls it the Snatch Game. I don't know why I'm being special. So, there's only one thing left to do. Jorge, drink me! Ooh, look at this, is fancy. Okay, because of our nautical theme, this is a lovely sea-inspired cocktail. I call it the Sea Hag. There it is. Queens at Sea, Sea Hag. This is super, super easy to make. Now, I have the recipe down below. I also have the recipe tutorial up on my Patreon. If you want to subscribe to Patreon, you can see the tutorial there. But this is basically Hpnotiq Liquor, pineapple juice, Cointreau, and ice. Super simple. Throw it in a glass with some ice and take yourself out on a sea cruise. Okay, so we said goodbye to Raja. Well, everyone except Taki, who was plotting her revenge on Evie for calling her out in front of Ru, and her revenge on Brooklyn Heights for being fabulous. Seriously. Evie continued to win friends and influence people by going on and on about how much the judges loved her elevated look, despite what some other queens may think of her drag. Taki. Sensing Taki's exacerbation with Evie, Vanjie started to explain to people that she understood Evie was going to be a certain way, and that no matter what she thought or what she said, that Evie was just going to be that way. No matter how much she tried to be her friend, she's just going to have to accept that that's how Evie is, and that's how Evie does. Evie barked back by saying, fine, I'll let you go down the runway and whatever the hell you want. And then the Vanjie hit the fan, and it got ugly. Vanjie said everything every queen has ever wanted to say to Evie's face so far, season 11. Vanjie said things people at home have been yelling at TV screens since the start of season 11. It was quite spectacular, and I, for one, was glad I wasn't in that room. Seriously. Thank God there was a Canadian peacekeeper in the room, eh? And as much as Brooklyn tried to smooth things over, Evie would have none of it. Just walked away. The next day in the workroom, things weren't much better. First of all, Taki was so upset, she wasn't talking. Much to the delight, I'm sure, of the other queens, because nobody said nothing about it. They didn't even try and poke her to make her say stuff. I'm so serious. Thank God Ru showed up to break the silence with this week's mini challenge. The girls had to pitch a fabulous self-help book in the style of Ru's own Guru, which is available where fine books are sold. That said, the queens had 20 minutes, I think they got, to get into quick drag so they could be literally. Akira was first, and her book, Bend Over, fun, she looked good, it was all right. They're going to win her a challenge, is all I'm saying. Vanessa Vanjie Mateo did no better. She was so nervous, she forgot her name. She had to look at her card to say it. But I have to say, the title of her book was my favorite. Ms. Vanjie walking backwards into fame, all you bitches. I hate that. It makes no sense grammatically, but I totally understand what she meant. I buy your book, Ms. Vanjie. Plastique's book was meh for me. It had as much personality as the judges say she does on the runway, which may be the point. I don't know. Either way, meh. Shug looked good. She was super cute for her book, Booty Food, which, again, had food in the title, so you know I'm buying it. I'm just saying. Evie looked fantastic on her book. The art direction, what she wore, what she had makeup-wise, and the name of it, Audacity, spectacular. But the pitch sucked. It sucked like a finger after eating a baby. Nina threw proportionizing to the curb as she celebrated the football frame with her book, Broad. Hilarious. But again, I just need to say, this face that she's throwing on in 20 minutes, fantastic. I think she looks like Kristine Johnson. If she's doing a Snatch Game again, Kristine Johnson from Third Rock from the Sun, I think she could do. She looks a bit like her, I'm just saying. But still, I would love to see her do a face like that in 2 hours instead of 20 minutes. Brooklyn Heights' pitch was boring and low energy, but hilarious. I see what the judges are saying about her lack of personality, but who cares when you've got legs like that? Even when she was laughing, look at that. I could take dancing classes to the end of my days. I'd never be able to stand like that. Yeah, bro. But the competition was totally over the minute Hpnotiq started pitching her book, Eat It, Chronicles of the Buffet. As if there was ever any doubt. You can say what you want about Hpnotiq Nutmeg Ganache. You can call her talentless, but this queen has the gift of the gab. And that goes beyond talent. You can't teach it. You can't get somebody to talk and say something interesting all the time. You either can or you can't. So it was Hpnotiq's third mini challenge win, and a great way for her to start a difficult day. Another thing that made this difficult day a little bit easier was that it was Snatch Game. The queens made it. And seriously, I love the Snatch Game, but over the last couple of years, it's been getting rough. So they thought they would inject a new corps de vivre. I don't know, even that's a phrase. But they thought not just Snatch Game at sea. Now, I'd just like to say I still don't understand why they did it, except that I think that Ru had a fabulous little sailor outfit that he wanted to wear. And that's the end of it. Seriously. Nina was super stoked for Snatch Game, as well she should be. She's a comedy queen. I'm so serious. Shug was super excited to whip out her charo for Ru, and Ru seemed very excited to see it. I'm so serious. Akira made an excellent choice, if you ask me, when she said she was going to do the hilarious Tiffany Haddish. Personally, I think that Akira is hilarious, so I thought it was a good choice. But Brooklyn Heights looked like she was going to poop her panties. She was so nervous for this challenge, and no amount of kisses from Ms. Vanjie would quell the rising tide, I'm just saying. So you know, it was bad. Thank God Ru dropped in to check on the queen's progress, and she brought a friend, Snatch Game assassin extraordinaire, Jinx Monsoon. Seriously, I'm still talking about her little Edie. And that's not a euphemism. Hpnotiq was their first visit, and although Ru was a little upset to find out that Hpnotiq will not be playing Oprah Winfrey's cousin, Cornisha Winfrey, she seemed to get over it quite quickly when Hpnotiq said that her choice was T.S. Madison. Both she and Jinx seemed to be very excited by this choice. Good for Hpnotiq. Evie was next, and her admission that she wasn't good at impressions didn't garner any confidence from Ru or Jinx towards her Whoopi Goldberg. Jinx did, though, have high hopes for Evie because she'd won an acting challenge. Or maybe she was just high. I don't know. We're not close. Brooklyn Heights, being a good Canadian, chose Celine Dion. But personally, I think that Brooklyn's been living in Nashville too long because that French accent wasn't. I'm so serious. I think Brooke would have done better to impersonate somebody else impersonating Celine Dion. Anna Gasteyer, for one, does a great Celine. Just saying. Nina was very excited to share her two options with Jinx and Ru. Her first option, Harvey Fierstein as Edna Turnblad in Hairspray, the musical. But I nearly lost my mind when she said her second pick was Joanne Worley. Did I not just say she looked like Joanne Worley in that mushroom hat when she went down the runway, the Fringe, for episode 3? I said she looked just like Joanne Worley then. She's doing Joanne Worley now. Good choice for Nina is all I'm saying. And if you don't know who Joanne Worley is, we can't be friends. Look her up. She's hilarious. Laughing, yes, everyone knows. Do you know she was the voice of the wardrobe in Disney's Beauty and the Beast? Just saying. She's very busy. She's very famous. Oh, she's not Canadian. I, for one, am glad Nina chose to do both characters for Snatch Game because they were both hilarious. Ru seemed unimpressed with Vanjie's choice of portraying some garbage person from Dr. Phil. Not a real celebrity. This is the thing. Again, infamous and famous are not the same thing. I'm just saying. Personally, I wouldn't have picked LaToya Jackson as a celebrity to do, but I was very intrigued to hear that Vanjie had done a LaToya impersonation for audition tape. Ru seemed to like it, and when Ru likes something that you've done and mentions it, it's code for do that. I'm very sorry that Vanjie didn't. Seriously. Next up, Plastique Tiara whipped out her nail technician to play lovely Mimi. Apparently this is somebody who's on TV. Again, not famous, just on TV. Listen to your Auntie Wilma, children. It's Celebrity Snatch Game. Impersonate a celebrity. Just because you're on the tubes or on cable television does not mean you're famous. It just means you're on TV. Let's pick our celebrities a little. This is why we have the Kardashians. Something that came up during Ru and Jinx's visit with Plastique was Plastique's voice. Plastique said to them that her Filipino accented voice is her real voice. And then that homogenized, smooth voice that she's been talking with since day one is her drag voice. Something that Akira and Taki took a lot of notice in, because they already think she's a hot liar. They already think she's lying about how hard it is for her at home, and now she's lying about her voice. She's not winning friends and influencing people with these stories, is all I'm saying. And then it was time for the queens to weigh anchor for Snatch Game at Sea. I still don't understand why it was at Sea. Now let me say this. This was not the worst Snatch Game in the history of Snatch Games, but it was the hardest one for me to watch. I did a lot of this. I couldn't. Thank God for Taki's T.S. Madsen. Everything out of that queen's mouth was hilarious, as if it was going to be anything else. Seriously, here's to Taki. Well done. Nina's Harvey Fierstein was a lot of fun, but her switch to Joanne Worley tickled me to no end with all her woo! I just love Joanne Worley, and I love Nina West, I'm just saying. I also thought that Akira did very well as Tiffany Haddish. She even gave us a full grapefruit demo. And, you know, those are, you could get some citrus in the eye, I'm just saying. I was super impressed with Shug's Charo as well, but I have to agree with the judges. She was a little laid back, a little reticent. Ru had to ask her to coochie. I think that Charo just wakes up coochieing. I think she just goes through life like that. And that's probably how people get out of her way. Oh, say Charo. Either way, I still thought Shug did an excellent job. Someone who did surprise me was Plastique. Mostly because I wasn't expecting anything from her, and I'd seen her nail technician before. But not only was she funny, her back and forth with Taki's T.S. Madsen was hilarious. And that's the only rule for Snatch Game, make Ru laugh. And she did. Good for you, Plastique. Cheers. Vanjie wasn't the worst one up there, but it wasn't for lack of trying. I'm so serious. First, she started off with that squeaky voice, and then never did it again. She threatened Tony Hale. Literally, he looked like he was scared for his life. And when Ru asked her, in her character, if she could sing a song from her mixtape, she said no. I would have said, I don't sing, it's a mixtape. Do you know what I'm saying? Who was the worst one up there? Well, it was a total toss-up between Brooklyn Heights and Evie. I'm so serious. Brooklyn's main problem, ironically enough, seemed to be that she was talking too much. For somebody who was nervous for this challenge, I would have kept all my answers quick and short. I don't know. But that first answer she gave, I don't know what I'm doing here. I thought this was an anniversary for Titanic. Period. That was fun. It was cute. Humorous. That would have been fine. Even though she did not sound or look like Celine Dion. And that's the other thing. She wore that backwards Armani suit that Celine wore to the Oscars. Now, I have to tell you, that is my favorite Celine Dion look. That is better than that big white tissue sleeve thing she wore. I love that Armani suit. But it doesn't translate well. And don't forget, it wasn't received well at the time. So it's not something that people are expecting to see again and again. I think that Brooklyn tried too hard. I think she aimed a little too high. If she had just worn some spaghetti strap black little dress and maybe a little darker wig, she would have been fine. She would have been fine. I also would not have brought a microphone on stage with me because that just encourages people to ask you to sing. And if you can't sing and you're playing a singer, keep your mouth shut. Seriously. Evie's whoopee was anything but. I am so serious. It was so painful to watch. Evie has had some convoluted idea that not only has Whoopi Goldberg not done a movie in a while, but that she's suffering because of it. I'm glad Rue reminded her that she's on The View every day, 5 days a week, I'm just saying. But that said, I don't know what Evie had planned, what was going on in her head, but everything out of her mouth was just fell flat. And then she got political at the end, talking about the devil's lettuce. Now, I just need to say, as a big girl, all lettuce is the devil's lettuce. You got to be more specific. Just saying. The next day in the workroom, the queens licked their war wounds and got ready for the runway. Vanessa Vanjie Mateo was nervous, and well, she should be. Brooklyn Heights was nauseous, as well she should be. And Evie was contrite enough by her Snatch Game performance to give some dismissive, backhanded apology to Taki, something Taki was having none of. Good for Taki. Vanjie must have been feeling a little contrite too, because she followed in Evie's footsteps by apologizing to Evie for yelling at her the way she did. Good for her. Like she said, they're sisters. They're going to fight. They don't have to get along all the time. Seriously. And then it was time for the runway, and hello, legs. God, I love it when Rue wears a mini. I also love Clea Duvall. She is such a talented and funny actress, and stealing scenes all over V, if you haven't seen it. And the delicious Tony Hale was there to help judge as well. I love him. And this week's runway sequence. Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. First up, Akira. Now, I thought Akira looked fantastic, but that dress was pretty basic, and I don't understand the tail. It was just like almost pinned onto the back. I would have liked to have seen a panel of the dress in the back that was free at the hips, that could have been gathered across her bum into a tail and let fall. That would have been much more elegant, and I think it would have made for a better dress. That said, she looked good. Vanjie obviously wanted to go home because she wore another swimsuit in front of Michelle. I am so serious. Michelle cut her eyes at Vanjie like she was going to take that swimsuit off her with her bare hands. I think Vanjie's only saving grace was, of course, the crappy performances of Evie and Brooklyn. Sorry about it. Nina's sequin Patriot was gorgeous, but I have to say, in light of Michelle's proportionizing talk, I wouldn't have had that coat that long. Like, I know it's a period coat and everything, but I would have cut it to the waist, maybe put a peplum on it, or done a tail coat where it was longer in the back, but still short in the front, so it had waist and then hips and legs, because I felt that the coat was too long, the dress was too short, but her face was stunning. Speaking of stunning, Sugar Cane's dress gagged the hell out of me. I'm with Rue. I think that's one of the most beautiful dresses to be worn down the runway at RuPaul's Drag Race. And I think the reason being, it was all one color. It was a lot of other things going on. And the sleeve cut and the bottom accoutrement, just her face, she looked good. And with her Charo in Snatch Game, this was a good week for Suge. Seriously, I feel like she's finally making an effort. So she should. Here's to you. Make more of them. Brooklyn Heights totally redeemed herself with that runway. I'm so serious. From the quick change off the top to her slithering all over that stage like a sexy cat. Oh my God. Seriously. But it wasn't enough to keep her out of the bottom two, I'm so sorry to say. Evie's sequin jumpsuit was another huge hit with the judges, but as much as they liked it, it wasn't enough to keep Evie out of the bottom two either. Taki's ode to Aretha and Diana was delicious, and I think I would have liked Plastique's outfit a little more if Brooklyn Heights hadn't worn some similar accoutrement on episode 2. Just saying. Now, personally, I think Vanjie should be in the bottom with Evie. Not because I'm a good Canadian who's protecting my Canadian sister, and not because Vanjie wore another swimsuit down that runway in front of Michelle, but because she asked who dat with Meryl Streep. Seriously. But what I think happened was that Brooklyn killed that runway so hard that the judges wanted to see more. And that's why she was in the bottom too. It's a story I tell myself to go to bed at night. And undisputably, this was a lip sync for the ages. Not just because these two queens were great performers, but because the rest of the queens, like, these are two power hitters. They were one of them was going home. As far as the other queens knew, one of them was going home. I think a few of them wanted Evie to go. But either way, Brooklyn's been killing that runway as well. They're both threats to these other girls. And that made it the best lip sync ever until they actually started to do it. And oh my God, it was Cirque du Soleil. These girls were on their heads. They were on their backs. They were flipping. Brooklyn did a bridge. Evie did a wig change, and I loved her second wig. I thought it went much better with her jumpsuit. It was just spectacular. So much so that when the last note rang out and the girls were trying to catch their breath, Ru declared that they had both won. No one was going home. It was a double Shantae. A happy RuPaul's Drag Race miracle. Yay for Brooklyn. I am just saying. Not that I thought Brooklyn would have gone home. If I had to pick one of them for that, I would have picked Brooklyn because I'm Canadian. I'm going to say it. I'm Canadian. But what I loved about that whole lip sync was they both seemed to push each other further. One did something, the other did it. This is how you lip sync for your life. Act like it's important. Act like you need it. Act like this is death if you don't. That's why they both stayed. And good for them. So talented. I'm so serious. So, nobody went home this week. We still have 8 girls. What do you think of that? Do you think Vanjie's in trouble? I think Vanjie's in trouble. I think Shug is on the rise, but is it too little too late? And Nina, she's still wallowing. She doesn't step it up. I don't know. Either way, all we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race next week to find out how it all goes down. And then, when you're done, come on back and see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, don't forget to like my video. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget, support me on Patreon. You can also buy my merchandise on redbubble.com. All the links are down below. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for your support. And until next time, miss me. Mwah! Seriously, Jorge, I love this too. I might wear my hair like this more often. Just get my eyes.